Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Got Harem with Anko, Yugao and Kurenai Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. In a clear area in a forest that had a couple of tents in it stood a 15-year-old boy with red hair that had whisker marks on his cheeks, and he was training when he said, "Why won't the pervy sage teach me properly all I have done in the last year and make the Rasengan bigger and as the Kyuubi's chakra and I don't want to use his chakra." Before he could do or say anything he heard the Kyuubi's voice say, "And what is wrong of using my chakra and who are you call a male?" "Nothing wrong with using your chakra, it's just I want to do anything using my own power just like those weird dreams I have been having lately," Naruto replied before realizing what the Kyuubi said asked, "Wait, you're a girl?" "Yes, I am got a problem with that," Kyuubi asked. "Not really, after all I know that girls are strong, I mean look at the Ice Queens and Ba-chan," Naruto replied. "Right, but what is this about weird dream? Maybe I might know what they are saying," Kyuubi asked. "Before I answer that, why are you being nice to me? As the last time we spoke you was being an asshole to me," Naruto asked. "Since then I took the liberty to look through your memories to see how much of a pampered life, and because of what I saw I am willing to help you out as we Biju would never treat any child like that," Kyuubi said. Naruto was shocked by what the Kyuubi said as she continued, "I must say that my last two hosts didn't have that bad a life and your mother would be ashamed of the village. Also my name is Kurama." Naruto was shocked once again by what Kurama said asked, "You knew my mother?" "Of course I knew your mother because she was my second host. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki and your father was the one that sealed in you and he was a fool because he thought that you was going to be seen as a hero. So as we will have a lot of time together I will tell you more about your mother another time as we have other matters to talk about." "You're right and thanks for telling me," Naruto said. Then he begins to describe his dream and the weapon in the dream, Kingdom Hearts 1 Sora's dream. When Naruto was done telling Kurama about his dream, the nine-tailed fox thinks about it for a minute then says, "Sounds like you can use a keyblade, and if that's true then two sand stories are true." "What stories are you talking about?" Naruto asked. "When me and my other sisters was created into this world, our two san who you call the Sage of Six Paths told us stories about other worlds that are connected and at the same time not, and about champions of both light and dark that wielded special weapons called keyblade," Kurama said. "Cool, so what does a keyblade do?" Naruto asked. "I don't know much, just the basics, like they are the only weapon to kill a creature called Heartless. They can unlock any lock, able you to use some spells that is made from materia, and that is all I know. For you to learn more then you need to find a Kibir. Sorry kid," Kurama said. "Don't worry about it, I know more than I would have if not for you, so thank you," Naruto said. Then he saw Jiraiya limp into the clearing and was covered in bruises. The teen thought, "Look like he got caught spying again." Then he asked, "So Jiraiya, what are you going to teach me?" Jiraiya looks at the teen and asked, "Have you done the practices that I asked you to do?" Naruto was annoyed at what Jiraiya said, shouted, "And what would those have been? Since we left the village you haven't trained me much other than make the Rasengan bigger and how to use the Kyuubi's chakra, which I don't want to use as it doesn't belong to me, and right now I am beginning to think you want the Akatsuki to capture me and kill me as they take the tailed beast that is sealed in me. That is not true. I will teach you something when you are ready, which isn't now, so let's go to sleep and we will talk about it tomorrow," Jiraiya said as he went in his tent, not realizing that one of his notebooks fell out of his pouch. Naruto saw the notebook on the floor and thinking that it was the normal one he writes in, opens it and reads it, and as he gets more and more pissed as it says that his mother was still alive and also believes that he was dead and that the training trip was a farce to get him away from the village to place some seals on him at the end of the trip. Naruto, who had watery eyes, said with a sad tone, "So he is like everyone else, only being nice to me because I could be of use to them. I knew I shouldn't have trusted him and against my better judgment I did." Kurama knew that what her host just discovered has hurt him more than anything, said, "Kid, I know this has hurt you, but you can't let that snuff out your light, otherwise you will lose the keyblade, and if you want I can teach you a space-time jutsu that will let you have a new start and hopefully have someone to teach you more about keyblades." Naruto thought about it then said, I would like that, but can you do that tomorrow as I have things to sort out? Of course kid I understand as you have 5 or 6 people you care about then they genuinely care about you, and you don't want them to worry when they find out that you have disappeared, Kurama said. Right so where will this jutsu take me? Naruto said as he leaves the campsite. That is one question I can't answer as I don't know but I must tell you this that when you use the jutsu it will cause you more pain than you can handle though that is nothing new to you, Kurama replied. And why is that Kurama? Naruto asked. Because you will be passing through a space that will kill you if you don't have a vehicle or armor but thanks to your Uzumaki lineage I am 50-50 about you surviving, Kurama said. Thanks, Kurama that mean a lot, Naruto said. When morning came Naruto had been in a hotel's lobby at the nearest town writing letters to Tsunade Shizune and his ice heims then he headed into the forest then did a few hand signs and said summoning jutsu and then there was a puff of smoke and when the smoke cleared there stood a young orange toad with purple markings around his eyes, mouth, and stomach. The toad looks at the teen and said, Hey Naruto what do you need? I need you to take me to the Toad summoning world as I need to talk to the leaders about something concerning Jiraiya, Naruto said. Of course, Gamakichi said as he jumped on Naruto's head then the duo disappeared in a puff of smoke. In the summons realm Naruto and Gamakichi appeared in a puff of smoke, and they heard, Gamakichi why have you brought Naruto here you know that they must need approval from either me or Shima and Fukasaku. I know dad. But Naruto said he needed to you and the elders and it about Jiraiya, Gamakichi said. The toad then looks at Naruto and said, Very well I will take you to the elders, then he leads them to where the toad elders. When the trio got to the where the elder was, they were met was two toad one was female that has a green underside with purple marking around her mouth and the back of her body. The top of her head looks as though she is wearing a hair net with hair rollers underneath while the other one was male and is a green with white hair styled in somewhat of a mohawk. Very thick eyebrows and a small goatee and the female saw that they have company said, Ah hello Bunta and to you Takichi and I see you have brought the summoner with you what brings you three here? Then she turned to Naruto and said, Well Naruto I am Shima. Then points to the green one before continuing, and this is my mate Fukasaku but please call us Ma and Pa. Well Naruto has something to tell us and it's to do with Jiraiya, Bunta said then he turns to Naruto said, Well Naruto what have you got to tell us? Then Naruto told the toads what he had found out. When Naruto was done Pa said, Well that does it I say we remove Jiraiya from our scroll. No don't do that yet, Naruto said. Both elders looked at Naruto shocked and Ma said, And why is that Naruto? Well it's like this you see for the past week I have been having this dream and in the dream I see creature that seemed be made of darkness and I wield a blade unlike any other as it seems to be a key and then after I defeat the creature that came from my own shadow I wake up and last light the Kyuubi told me that I could be a Kibier and that it know a jutsu that could help me get a new start and I am hoping that there I can learn if I am a Kibier, Naruto said. Realizing what Naruto was doing and knowing that particular jutsu Ma said, Naruto you do realize what you are doing right. Naruto looks at Ma, and said, I do, and I have to get out of this world. May I ask why you feel like you need to do this Naruto boy, Pa asked. I know that I have some people that truly do care for me but at the end of the day I am sick and tired of being alone and I need to go someplace that don't know me and the way to do that is to go to a place that don't know what a Jinchuriki is, Naruto explained as a few tears managed to escape but he continued, and before I use the jutsu I need you to deliver some letters to Tsunade. Both Ma and Pa looked at each other then Pa said, We understand lad, but you have to promise us one thing. And what would that be? Naruto asked. You have to keep in touch as I am sure you know that the summoning jutsu is another space-time jutsu but it's not as dangerous as the one you're about to use because the summoning realm is a pocket dimension that follows the summoners so where you go, we go, Pa said. Thank you, Naruto said. Think nothing of its lad now let's leave the letter, Pa said as he held a flipper out for Naruto to hand him the letter. Naruto handed Pa the letter as well as his Konoha headband and the necklace that he had won from Tsunade the year before, then said with a heavy heart, "Tell Tsunade that I am sorry I can't keep my promise." "I will," Pa said before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Human realm Konoha. In the Hokage doing paper sat the blonde woman, and she was about to reach for another paperwork when she heard a puff of smoke and saw a Pa and said, "What are you doing here?" Pa looks at the blonde and said, "I am here to deliver somethings to you Tsunade," then places the things on the table. When Tsunade saw what Pa placed on her desk, she knew something was wrong. She asked, "What are you doing with Naruto's stuff?" "I believe that the answer to that will be in the lad's letter Tsunade, and he also has a message for you," and he said it with such a heavy heart that it almost broke my old toad heart, Pa said. Not liking where this is going, Tsunade asked, "I know that I am going to regret it, but what's the Gaki's message?" Pa took a deep breath to steel his nerves, then said, "Naruto had this to say. He is sorry that he can't keep his promise." And when he saw the look that was on Tsunade's face, he said, "He fine, but what he is about to do, he feels like he need to do this." Tsunade picks up the letter that was addressed for her and begins to read it. "Dear Ba-chan, if you are reading this, I am about to use a jutsu that could help me get a new start, because even though I have Yushizune and my ice heims, but I am tired of being alone as well as all the glares I get. But the last stew was finding out that my supposed godfather wasn't even going to take the training trip seriously, so when the Akatsuki came after me, I will ebb defenseless. Now normally I would run away, but I spoke to the Kyuubi about a dream I have been having and think I have a great calling known as a Kibier, and said that she knows a jutsu that might take me to a place that could have someone that could help me with unlocking it, but the jutsu is a dangerous one as it will take me though a place that shouldn't be going though unless you have a special vehicle or armor. Now I know what you are thinking, but this isn't goodbye, this is a see you later, and when I do come back, I will be strong enough to protect those I care about. And I will come back just not to be the next Hokage, and that is why I am returning the necklace, as it held the promise that I will become the Hokage. Now I am waiting for your reply, so when you do that, can you please send me a picture of Yushizune and the Ice Queens, as it would mean a lot to me. From your lovable knucklehead Naruto. P.S. I know I never told you this, but I saw you as the mother I wanted. P.S. Can you please try and find my Ka-chan, as Jiraiya had told her that the ceiling had failed. P.S. Why don't you use the shadow clone jutsu to do the paperwork?" When Tsunade finished reading, she was pissed, then said, "Neko, I want you to get you friends and I want them here in 10 minutes. Then she used the intercom and said, "Shizune, I want you in here in 10 minutes, Ryu." Then an Anbu with a dragon mask appeared. "I want you to get me one of each jutsu on each element, fighting style and kenjutsu we have, and I want it in 2 hours. The Anbu gave a court nod that disappeared. After the 10, everyone that the Hokage wanted was in her office, and the cage said, "Great, you're all here, and what I have some sad news to tell you all." Anko asked, "Probably not going to like this, but what is it?" Tsunade reached over and pulls a head protector and said, "Naruto has left the village." "What do you mean, Lady Tsunade?" Hana asked. Tsunade didn't answer the question, instead she just handed the letters to them, and they began to read them. When they were all done reading their letters, they were all pissed, and Kurenai said, "What are you going to do about Naruto?" Before Tsunade could answer, Pa made his presence known by saying, "There is nothing you can, as this is the boy's fate." Yugao looks at the toad and asks, "What do you mean?" "You see, some time ago there was a prophecy about a kid that is born between 2 great shinobi, one that will hold the key that can unite all worlds," Pa said. "What are you getting at?" Anko asked. "For you to get it, then you need to know a legend that has been since long before the Biju even existed," Pa said before he started. "Since the dawn of time there has been a war raging on between the light and the dark. Then at some point they began to choose champion to, and they wielded weapons that look like keys, became known as keybearers, and they have the ability to go from world to world in a special vehicle, or if you're a master, then set of armor." "And you think Naruto is the kid in the prophecy?" Hana asked. "It seems so, hence why we are letting him do this even though we don't want to," Pa said with a sad tone. "And that is why I called you all her, because in the letter he gave me he wanted a picture of all of us for his journey, Tsunade said. After the 2 hour was up, Tsunade was handing Pa a scroll that had the picture that Naruto had requested and several letters as well as his head protector and necklace, and then said to the toad, "Give Naruto these, will you, and tell him that they belong to him and that when he came back, he better take this hat from me." Pa takes the things as said, "Will do." Then with a puff of smoke the old toad was gone. Back in the summon realm, Naruto was just finishing some last-minute checks, and when he was done, he said, "Now I just need to wait for Pa to show up with this from Ba-chan, then it back to the human realm to get some supplies." Then there was a puff of smoke that indicated that Pa had returned. Then he headed to Naruto, then said as he handed the teen the scroll, "Here you go, boy, the things you wanted from Tsunade, so I recommend you read them after you use the jutsu and recovered. Also I have a message from her, some of those things in the scroll belongs to him and that when he came back, he better take this hat from me." Naruto grabs the scroll and says, "Thanks for the help. Think nothing of it, sonny. Now if you go back to the human realm for supplies," Ma said. Then Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke. Once Naruto was back in the human realm, he headed to all stores to get the supplies he needed. Then once that is done, then he headed into the wood that was close to where he was, and once he was at a clearing he heard Kurama say, "Now listen to me carefully, kid, because when it comes to anything that deals with the space and time, get one thing wrong and it will be disastrous. Right, so do as you as to the letter or I will die," Naruto said. "That's correct, kid," the fox said. Then she begins to explain the jutsu, the hand seals and effects. When the Nine Tails finished explaining, Naruto stood there for a moment to process what he just heard, then said, "Okay, it now or never." Then he did the hand signs as Kurama reminded him what they were. Then when he slammed his on the floor, he said, "Dimensional portal jutsu." There was a golden sparks, then a circle, the portals from MCU. Then he walks though it, then it closes. The moment after the portal closed, Jiraiya walked in the area and said, "That weird, I am sure that this is where the tracker said this was where Naruto was. Well, I better find him soon and get him under control." In an ally in another world, golden sparks appeared, and they began to form a circle and grew. Once it was big enough, Naruto came flying out of it with ripped clothing and was covered in deep scratch marks, and he hit a wall hard enough to break it and knock him out. After an hour, Naruto was woken up by something licking his face. Upon opening his eyes, he was met with a short-haired dog that was medium in size, that had yellow-orange color fur with black ear, and he was wearing a green collar that had what Naruto thought was his name. Giving him a few stroke, Naruto said, "Thanks, Pluto, now go back to your owner." And the dog goes. Then Naruto gets to leaves the ally, and once he looks around, then thinks, "Okay, where to find someone to help me find out if I am a Keyblade? Well, the first step will be to find a pub. Then you ask a host or a hostess if they know if anything about Keyblades or knows someone that does," Kurama suggested. Naruto thinks, "You're probably right." Then he goes around looking for a bar. Then he comes across a place called Seventh Heaven. The said, "Well, this place might be what I am after." Then he goes in and looks around to find someone that works there. When he saw no one around, he said, "Hello, anyone here?" A woman walks in from the back, and she has an athletic build with slender but toned physique appearances, and she has very dark brown hair that looked black, which falls below her waist and is tied at the tips to form a dolphin tail split. She also has red eyes. She then asks, "Hi, how can I help you?" Naruto takes a seat at the bar, then said, "Yes, you can. You see, I am looking someone, but that in itself is the problem because I have no idea who I am looking for." The woman leans over the bar, then says, "I see your problem, so why don't you tell me the reason why you are looking for someone, then see if I know someone that can help you." "And that is the reason why I am here. You see, I was recently told that I can become something called a Keyblade, and I am looking for someone to confirm it and instruct me to access it," Naruto replied. The lady thought for a few minutes before answering, "Well, there might be one person that could help you, because shortly after I set up this establishment, an elderly man that has bushy eyebrows, a walrus mustache, and a long, floor-length beard. He was also wearing a sky blue cloak that stops just above his ankles and has large, hanging sleeves, and he said that if there was anyone looking for someone but don't know who, then send them his way." "Cool, so where does this guy live?" Naruto asked. Then the lady gave him directions. Then he said, "Thanks, you know what, I don't know your name. I am Naruto Uzumaki." The woman went wide eyes when she realized that Naruto was right, then said, "You're right, Naruto, and it's nice to meet you. I am Tifa Lockhart." "Well, that's a lovely name, Tifa, and thank you for the directions," Naruto said as he leaves. When Naruto was outside, he heard Kurama said with a surprised tone, "Kid, before you go and fawn this old man, you might want to get in here. This you have to see." "Why do you want me to come in there?" Naruto asked. "Trust me, kid, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, and I am still finding it hard to believe," the nine-tailed fox replied. Seeing as he has nothing better to do, Naruto just shrugged, then went up to the roof, then he sat down, then closed his eyes, then he felt a pull. Mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes, find himself in a sewer, then says, "So this is my mindscape, what a dump, but I guess that's to be expected with the type of upbringing I had." Then he claps his hands, then says, "Okay, then I will worry about my mindscape later. First I have to see what the fox wants," and so he walks to one way to find the fox. After a little while, Naruto come into a huge chamber that had a set of huge gates, and inside the cage was a set of blood-red eyes, and Naruto, "Hey Kurama, what is it that you want to show me?" "Look to your left and you will see, kid," Kurama said. Naruto did as instructed and was shocked to find has auburn hair, blue eyes, a pale complexion, and a necklace with a silver bead. Then he asked the girl, "Hello, I am Naruto. Who are you and how did you get in here?" "My name is Kairi, and as to how I got here, I wish I knew, because the last thing I remember was the world I was in was filling up with creatures that seemed to be made of shadows or darkness. Then I was here," Kairi replied. After a few moments of thinking, Kurama said, "Well, kits, there is one possibility how this could have happened." "What would that be?" Kairi asked. "Well, when your world fell into darkness, Kairi, something detached from your main body and was wandering through space, and when Naruto done his spatial jutsu, he must have crossed your path and you landed a host, and you were very lucky that we did," Kurama said. Before Naruto or Kairi could say anything, there was a voice of an elderly man saying, "That is an excellent thought, Kurama, and a good thing too." Naruto, Kurama and Kairi was looking around, but saw nothing. Then Naruto said, "Who and where are you? Also, how do you know Kurama's name?" My, what mouth, hope you don't kiss your mother with that mouth. And I am right behind you, Naruto, and as for who I am, well, I am Merlin," the voice replied, causing everyone to turn and see an elderly man with a long beard, and he was wearing a sky blue cloak that stops just above his ankles with hanging sleeves. "So, you know my name, and I take it that you are the one that Tifa said to look for. Also, how did you get in here?" Naruto said. "That I am Naruto. Now, as for your two questions, the reason is simple. It is because I am a wizard that is able to see the future, and that is why I am able to enter your mind, even though I don't like doing it. So how about we chat in the real world?" Merlin said. As Merlin was disappearing, Kairi said, Why was it a good thing that Naruto picked me up, and also have we met before?" "Because you would have disappeared permanently, as no one is meant to be in that place without some sort of protection, and it is possible as you and I used to life in Radiant Garden before it became Hollow Bastion," Merlin said as he disappeared. Naruto looks around and said, "Well, I guess I should leave so that I can find out more about being a Kyuubi." Then he turns to walk out the chamber. As Naruto was walking out the room, Kurama said, "Kid, wait." Naruto stopped, then turned to face the nine-tailed fox, who continued, "When you get out, try and let Kairi take over a clone, because unlike me, I am sealed inside you. I nor you can bypass the seal, but Kairi is not sealed, so in theory she can take over a clone." Naruto looks at the fox, then said, "There is more, isn't there?" Kurama nods her head, then said, "There is. She would have to be with you most of the time." Kairi looks at the fox and asked, "Why would I have to do that, Kurama?" The fox sighs, then says, "You see, kid, unlike me or any other nature manifestations, we are made up of nature itself, so we don't need a physical body. However, the same can't be said about living thing, and unless they have died some way or another, they need to have a physical body or they will disappear. Maybe not as long as it would take where we pick up Kairi, but eventually you would have faded away." "So, you're telling me is that if I let Kairi take over a clone, she would have to find to host her, and unlike me, they have no way of bringing Kairi into the real world or place her back into her body. If we somehow find she will fade away," Naruto said. "That's correct, kid," Kurama said. Naruto nodded, then turned to the girl and asked, "So what do you want to Kairi?" Kairi looks to Naruto and asks, "Why are you asking me?" "Well, because you will be the one inhabiting the clone, and the last thing we want is for you to go off somewhere and the clone disperses, then you are without a body, as the clone will disappear if they are hit hard enough," Naruto replies. Kairi thinks about it, then says, "Mind if I think about it for a bit?" "Sure. Take as long as you need, and once you have the answer, I am sure that Kurama will show you how to talk to me," Naruto replied. Then he walks away and fades away. Real world. When Naruto opened his eyes, he saw Merlin looking at him and he asked, "So what took you so long to come out?" "Kurama just wanted to let me know something," Naruto answered. "Ah yes, letting young Kairi inhabit one of your clones," Merlin said. "Right, so what do you want to talk about, as I don't see you coming to look for me unless it is important," Naruto said. "Yes, you are right, well, more like to tell you that you are indeed a keybearer, but alas, I don't know how to bring the key out of you. But I do know someone that can. His name is Yen Sid, as he is a powerful wizard as well as a retired Keyblade master," Merlin said. "Cool, so how do I find him?" Naruto asked. "I will take you myself," Merlin said. Then both he and Naruto went to the ground and the wizard started to lead the way. After a little while, Merlin and Naruto was at a tower, and Merlin turned to Naruto and said, "Well, Naruto, this is where Yen Sid, this is where we part ways, but I know we will meet again." Then he walks away. Naruto looks at the tower, then he goes inside and up, then goes up the stairs and goes inside a study and sees a man that appears to be a rather severe looking old man with long gray hair, bushy eyebrows, and a long, gray beard that parts down the middle. He is wearing a long billowing blue robes with sky blue lining, with the insides of his robes being dark red, and is also wearing a blue sorcerer's hat, and it is decorated with several yellow stars and a yellow crescent moon. And Naruto said, "Hello, are you Yen Sid, the retired Keyblade master?" The wizard nods and says, "That I am, young one, and may I know your name?" "Sure. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. It's nice to meet you," Naruto replied. "And it is nice to meet you to Naruto," Yen Sid said. Then he said, "I must say, Naruto, you are an interesting one." Naruto gains a confused look and asks, "How so?" "Well, for starters, you are the reincarnation of someone I met 10 years ago," Yen Sid replies. "But how is that possible? I am 15, Naruto asked. "Easy question. The world you are from was moving 50% faster than it should have been, so for you it was 15 years, me 10, Yen Sid replied. Naruto begins to panic and says, "What you mean that for every day I am here it will be a day and a half for my Himes and Ka-chans?" Yen Sid nodded and said, "Yes, that was the case, Naruto, but there is no need to panic." "And why is that, Yen Sid?" Naruto asked. "Because when you did that risky jutsu, that the nine-tailed beast that is sealed in you gave you time was corrected and is now at its true pace," Yen Sid replied. Naruto calmed down a little, then asked, "That's good. Now what was my name in my past life?" Naruto asked. "May I ask why you want to know that?" Yen Sid asked. "So I can honor what I did in my past while working for my future," Naruto replied. Yen Sid was surprised but didn't show it, and he said, "Well, then the name that you used to have was Ventus, and it is my understanding that your name is also a wind-based one." "That's cool. Now what is the second reason?" Naruto asked. "The second reason is tied with your future," Yen Sid replied. "What do you mean? And I thought Merlin had that ability?" Naruto asked. "Well, most wizards have the power of foresight, and as for what I see of your future, it is always changing, but what is consistent is you finding something that even we Keyblade masters thought to be a myth," Yen Sid replied. "Sweet, so what is it?" Naruto asked. "Of that I don't know, but I suspect that it is the world doors," Yen Sid replied. "Well, the door name sounds awesome, so what does it do?" Naruto asked. "Well, we don't know exactly. BTU legend says that for every world there is two types of lock. One is to the heart of the world and the other is to a door that is connected to other worlds whose world door has also been unlocked," Yen Sid replied. "Well, that door still sounds awesome, so any other reasons?" Naruto asked. "Well, there one other is I sense you are not complete," Yen Sid said. What is that supposed to mean? Naruto asked. I am not sure, but I do not sense any evil in you, Yen Sid replied. Naruto was about to say something then he remembered an incident that happened when he was 5 and said, maybe the two are connected. What could be connected? Yen Sid asked. When I was 5, I was running getting away from a mob when this old man with thin eyebrows and a curled, silver goatee he also had pointed ears and yellow eyes helped me then the next thing I remember was waking up in the hospital and Gigi said that I was without injuries but was unresponsive, Naruto answered. Yen Sid thinks about what Naruto just told him then said, that might be possible as if it is the Keyblade master known as Xehanort he did the same thing in your past life. So, if it was Xehanort then what is his goal? Naruto asked. To create the Keyblade known as the X-Blade which is said that whoever wields it rules over Kingdom Hearts, Yen Sid replied. Okay, just one thing left, can you unlock my Keyblade and if possible, unlock my memories for when I was Ventus? Naruto asked. There is a spell I can use but know this you will not have your abilities the time when you was Ventus and if you gain them back then you must work to get them back, Yen Sid replied. Naruto gives Yen Sid a big toothy smile and said, wouldn't have had it any other way and I will be better with the Keyblade than I was as Ventus. That is a bold claim, but I know you will do it now come over, Yen Sid said, and Naruto did as told when Naruto was next to Yen Sid the wizard placed a hand on Naruto's head and said, now Naruto I will not lie I have not done this before so this might hurt you. Well that's good to know as pain is an old friend so do it, Naruto said then Yen Sid did the spell lighting came from the wizard's hand. When the spell was over the wizard let go of Naruto who dropped to the floor holding his head then after 5 minutes he passed out. In Hollow Bastion World, in a dark chamber room, which was filled with villain who was having a meeting when the doors opened revealing an old man with thin eyebrows and a curled silver goatee he also had pointed ears and yellow eyes and someone wearing a black and red organic looking bodysuit and he is also wearing a silver helmet covered with dark glass, hiding his face from view then the old name said, having a meeting without me I see well considering that I was gone for 15 years not surprising at all. Someone walks out of the shadows to reveal to be a woman that has green skin, and shining, yellow eyes and on top of her head was a black horned headdress and she wears a long, tattered black robe with a purple trim and maroon flare edges. Said, well Xehanort I see you are alive and what do you mean 15 years you disappeared 10 years ago we all you was dead. Xehanort was surprised by what the woman said then said, are you sure that it was 10 years here and not 15 Maleficent? Yes, I am sure it has been 10 years Xehanort, Maleficent replied. Xehanort thinks for a few minutes then says, well then Maleficent if what you say is true then it would mean that the world I was in wasn't accessible by normal means and due to that the time was 1.5 times faster. It would appear that is the case and now that brings up a question how are you able to leave the world, Maleficent said. Yeah, that is the question, Xehanort said just then the mask boy collapsed and holds his head and screams and Xehanort asked, Vanitas what's the matter? Vanitas manages to open one of his eyes and struggles to say, I don't know but my head feels like it's about to split open. Xehanort looks at Maleficent and asked, do something and find out what is going on. I am afraid I cannot Xehanort as this would require mind magic and that is something I cannot do so the best thing is to as the boy when he is feeling better, Maleficent said then she felt something then says, now if you don't mind, I will see to our guests, then she walks away and out of the castle. Inside Naruto's Mindscape. As soon as Yen Sid unlocked Naruto's memories from when he Ventus he suddenly found himself in his Mindscape so he goes to see the nine-tailed fox so he can sort out the memories of Ventus out and so he can gain control over his Keyblade again. When Naruto got to the cage he said, hey Kurama how is, but stops abruptly as he looks inside the cage and sees the giant fox being held down by some kind green-blue glowing stream then he said, what is going on in here? Then the stream lessened a bit but still had a firm grip the fox who manages to get up then she says, hey kid I guess you are here for your memories as Ventus, which got a nod from Naruto. Then she looks at the streams that have a hold on her and continues, and as for what is going on, and to be honest, I have no idea. Naruto nods, then says, so want to go though memories with me? And when the fox nodded, then the teen asked, so where do I need to go to sort out my memories from my past life as Ventus? Kurama then points to a door that was just outside the cage, then said, that door showed up just after the old wizard used his spell, so my guess would be they are your Ventus memories. Then these streams shot out the water and pulled me down. I see, Naruto said, then closed his eyes. Then the door began to move to inside the cage, then opens his eyes, then walks over to the door, places a hand on the doorknob, turns to the fox, then asks, you ready to do this? Ready as I will ever be, kid, Kurama said. Thanks, Kurama, Naruto said quietly. Think nothing of it, kid, Kurama said. Then Naruto opened the door. Meanwhile, in the real world, after Naruto claps on the floor, Yen Sid summoned a couple of brooms who took him to a room. Then he said, well, he will be out for half a day, and as it's been a while, might as well see the new Kibiru's home world and let Lady Tsunade know Naruto is doing. Then he waved a hand and opens a portal, then steps through it. On Naruto's home in the Hokage's office, Tsunade was doing paperwork when a portal opened, alerting her, and her Anbu guards appeared around it. And when Yen Sid walked out, he looks around and says, well, this isn't what I was expecting. Tsunade then asks, well, stranger, what was you expecting? Well, first of Tsunade, I must say that it is an honor to officially meet you, and as for what I was expecting, well, I was expecting 2 or 3 squads of your Anbu to be here, although I should have also considered the space of the room as well, Yen Sid replied. Tsunade raised an eyebrow as to how this man knew her name to what the masked ninjas was called to the size of her office, so she asked, okay sir, I can tell that you are not from around here, so who are you and how do you know as well as what my guards were called? Yen Sid smiles, then conjures a chair to sit down, shocking all the occupants. Then he says, well, Tsunade, I am Yen Sid, and I am what a lot of people would call a wizard, and as for who I know who you are and what you Anbu Black Ops are called, well, that is because we both know Kibiru that goes by the name of Naruto Uzumaki. The blonde Hokage eyes went wide, then said, Anbu, stand down. Then the Anbu disappeared. She turned to Yen Sid and said, so I have to ask, how is he? Well, he is fine considering, and I must say he is surprising me at every turn, Yen Sid said. What do you mean by surprising you at every turn? Tsunade asked. Well, Tsunade, there is a common skill or ability that most wizards have, and that power is called future sight, and this ability allows us to see the future and in rare cases the past, and I am pleased to say that I am one of those rare cases, Yen Sid said. Wow, that seems to be a good ability to have, to be able to see the future. So you know about his past, Tsunade said. Yes, I do, and I also know that what he told you was a sugar-coated version, Yen Sid said, slightly shocking the blonde Hokage as she has asked about him from his friends. Then the wizard says, yes, having the sight is useful, however it is not always truly accurate, but there is one thing about this ability is true. And what is that? Tsunade asked. Well, it's not to do with the ability itself but the theory behind it, and that theory is the more powerful the user, the more accurate the sight, Yen Sid replied. So, what does this have to do with Naruto? Tsunade said. Well, Tsunade, when I tried to see young Naruto's future, when I saw him walk into my tower in a world called Traverse Town, and I looked into Naruto's future, and what surprised me was that I couldn't get an accurate read in it, but I saw 4 things that was consistent, Yen Sid said. Tsunade leans forward and asks, and what is that? Well, the first is that he will find the door to each world and unlock it, as well as have the world's maidens fall for him, Yen Sid said. Tsunade raises her hand and says, one moment, what do you mean the world's maidens? Before I answer that, mind if I ask you a question? The wizard asked, and when Tsunade nodded, the former Kibiru asks, when you look up toward the night sky and see the stars, do you wonder if there is life out there? Yes, I do, but what does that have to do with my question? Tsunade asked. Everything, Lady Hokage. Yes, Sid said before he begins his explanation. You see, each star is a world's heart. Our light of you will in each one of these world has a pure maiden to keep the world pure from corruption, and that maiden should have a knight to protect her from the world's inhabitants, and we calls these women the world maiden, and there is a myth about 7 maiden above them who are known as the 7 princess of heart, and should they are able to use their power together, then they can bring forth the final keyhole which will lead them to the kingdom hearts. Okay, I think I understood it. So each star in the night sky is a world's heart, and each world has a maiden that is so pure that they keep their world's heart beating and pure, and each maiden has a knight to protect them from those that wish them harm, right? And that Naruto will be gaining a harem of pure maidens, Tsunade said. Yen Sid nodded and said, that is correct, Tsunade. Good, so I did understand it now. Then I have one more question before we continue, Tsunade said. Ask away. Yen Sid said. What is a keyhole? Tsunade asked. A keyhole is like a safety device that is in place to protect the world's heart from the heartless, Yen Sid replied. Tsunade nodded, then asked. And a heartless is, and what would happen if they get into the keyhole? A heartless is a creature of darkness, of those who have lost their hearts to darkness, and as for what would happen if a heartless should find its way to the heart of the world, well, cease to exist, Yen Sid replied, causing Tsunade to go wide-eye. Once again Tsunade nodded, then said, thank you for answering my questions, you can continue. It is no problem, Tsunade. Now where was I? The elderly wizard said as he thinks for a moment, then says, oh yeah, the next thing that is consistent is that he will be the king of Traverse Town, and the last thing is that you will be one of his advisors. Upon hearing what Yen Sid said, Tsunade gasps and asks, if I am going to become one of the kid's advisors, then that would mean. Yen Sid nodded and said, I am afraid so. The heartless will be coming here, and they will get into the heart of the world, and only a keybearer can seal the keyhole, and at the moment there are a few left, and the only one that is available to do it is knock out on a bed, going through his memories from his past life. Somehow knowing who the aged wizard was talking about, Tsunade said, what do you mean? Well, ma'am, 10 years ago I once knew of a boy like Naruto named Ventus. He was also a keybearer, but unfortunately another keybearer named Xehanort did something to the boy that removed his dark side and gave it form, and, in the end, both Ventus and Vanitas fought, and the result was they both perished and was reborn 15 years ago, Yen Sid replied. Tsunade was now looking at the wizard confused, so she said, okay, now you have lost me. If this Ventus died 10 years ago, then how can he reborn 15 years ago? Easy answer, it was 10 for me, 15 you. For you see, I don't know how it happened, but as you don't know what a heartless was because this world couldn't be accessed until a few hours ago when Naruto left this world, Yen Sid said. So, what was causing us to be unaffected by the heartless? Tsunade asked. Simple, this world was going 1.5 times faster than it should have been, and when Naruto used that jutsu to leave the world, it corrected the flow of time, Yen Sid said. Tsunade now understood how the times matched, then said, so what will happen to Naruto? Once Naruto has sorted out his memories, he will properly want to go and help other worlds and relearn how to use his keyblade and armor again, Yen Sid said. Yeah, that does sound like him. From what his group friend, he has always wanted to help others, as well as what some of the reports I have received while he was out on missions, Tsunade said, then asked, so how do you know so much about these keybearers? That is a simple answer. I used to be one, but I am retired, so now I just help other keybearers by either helping them train if they need it or by giving them advice, Yen Sid replied. And when he sees Tsunade open her mouth to say something, he said, I know what you are going to say, Tsunade, but unfortunately I can't do it, as it has been so long since I summoned my keyblade. I can no longer do it, so I can't seal this world's keyhole. Of that I am sorry for that, and even if I could, I have no idea where the keyhole is. Understanding why he couldn't do it, Tsunade said, I understand. Then for the next hour the two chatted. Yen Sid stood up and said, and with that our little meeting is done, and for now I will bid you a farewell, and until the day that the heartless comes here I will keep you posted on how Naruto is, as there will be times that he will be too busy to send letter. Then he opens a portal and walks through the portal. Tsunade smiles a little knowing that Naruto was safe, then said, well, he seems like a great fellow. Just have this to say, you have my sympathizes. No doubt Naruto will cause you trouble. Then she looks on her desk and sees a note, so she picks it up to read. Then once she was done she said, Cat, I need you to get the top 5 ninjas in the village and be here in 10 minutes and not a second later, and if they are, then they will be punished. After the 10 minutes was up, the 5 ninja was standing in front of Tsunade and she said, "Alright, you 5, I have a mission for you, and that is you are to go north, and there is a village that is near the border that is under Orochimaru BTU. Your mission is him, it is to save Kushina and get her out of there." Then once the 5 nodded, she said, "Dismiss." Back in Traverse Town in Yen Sid Tower was where the wizard exited, then check on Naruto to see that he was still asleep, then said to himself, "Well, better get things ready for when he wakes up, as he will most likely want to train, then also have to let the others know that I have the key and its bearer, unless Tifa has told them already, so would you mind telling them, Merlin?" Then looking towards the doorway. "Well, I am not surprised that you knew I was here, Yen Sid, after all you are more powerful than me," Marin said. Then as he was about to leave, he turned back and asked, "So did you see his future?" "Yes and no," Yen Sid replied, then says, "I could see his future, but it was always changing, but there was a few thing I noticed that is the same, but the two that concerns you and me, one is that he will have the world maidens as his wives, even the ones that has lost their world, two is that he will become the king of this world, and the last one is the most shocking of all, he will find the world doors." Upon hearing this, Merlin says, "When you say the world doors, surely you don't mean the door that is said to connect the world together?" Yen Sid nods, then says, "Yes, I do. You know as well as I that there has been a prophecy since the Kingdom Hearts fell and will one day rise again by someone that will bring in a new era, one that is connected." "Yeah, I know the one. It's the one that says he will help those in need, show compassion to the enemy." And when Yen Sid nodded, Merlin said, "So what makes you certain that he is the one?" "Well, I was just at his world and spoke to the woman that he sees as a mother, and she told me what he did on some of his mission, and the first one he went on out of the village and he turned an enemy into an ally, but he also left a friend that he make a few days prior to the battle," Yen Sid said. "I see. Well, I will be off and let Tifa know that the day after tomorrow will be the day that Naruto will be ready," Merlin said. Then he left and headed to the 7th heaven. Later at 7th heaven, Merlin walks into the bar and goes up to the bar and says, "Hello Tifa, mind if I can have a drink also? I have a message for you friends, the ones that are with Goofy, captain of the Royal Knights of King Mickey's court, and Donald the Royal Mage, Disney Castle." Tifa nods, walks over and pours Wizard a drink, then says, "So what is the message?" "The bearer of the key will be here the day after tomorrow, as he is busy getting used to the power that comes with the blade," Merlin said. Tifa nods, then says, "I see, thank you for letting me know, so I can let Yuffie, Aerith, and Leon know to let the two that King Mikey send know to be here the day after tomorrow, so need anything else?" "Well, you do have a good dish, so give me the usual," Merlin said. "Coming right up. So does this have anything to do with that cute blonde from this morning, looking for you?" Tifa asked. Knowing who Tifa was talking about, Merlin said, "Yes, it does." "So, tell me more about him," Tifa said as she places Merlin's order though the till, and so Merlin did. Meanwhile, back at the tower, Naruto had woken up and right now he was trying to find his way around, and as he passed a big wooden door that opened, and Yen Sid said, "Ah, I see you are awake, so what are you doing?" "Well, I was looking around so I can get familiar with it again, as I will be coming here from time to time. And this would be where I would ask you why you or do that while you was going through the memories from your past life, but I already know the answer," Yen Sid said. "Well, you are probably right, but I will still tell you. When I was going through the memories, I only focused on the worlds themselves, not what I did on them, as well as the training that I did in order to use my Keyblade, as well as the spells. Almost a shame I don't have them now, but then again I prefer earning the power that I can use." Spoken like a true warrior, Naruto. "So tonight you will rest and tomorrow you will train to regain that power, then the following day you will meet your travel companions," Yen Sid said. "Sound like a plan, but they should know what kind of person I am," Naruto said. "Oh, don't worry, I am sure Merlin will tell Tifa about you so she can tell the others," Yen Sid said, then look closer at Naruto, then asks, "So what is the matter? You seemed worried. Does this have to do with the day after tomorrow or something else?" "Well, a little of both," Naruto said. Yen Sid nods, then, "Well, with how you grew up, I understand being a bit hesitant when it comes to meeting new people, and do you want to talk about the other thing?" Naruto think for a moment then says, sure and hopefully you might know what is going on, then thinks, Kurama you there. After a few moments of silence Naruto had Kurama say, sure kid what do you need? Link the hearing up because I am going to ask Yen Sid if he know what those stream are and what are they doing. Naruto thought then turns to Yen Sid and said, Yell Yen when I was in my mindscape after you used that spell on me I headed to see if Kurama knew where those memories was and when I got to her cage there was these blowing blue-green streams pulling her into the water but I nor Kurama knows what's going on. Yen Sid strokes his beard then says, by the sounds of it could be the life stream though I have no idea on how you have one inside you but then again you are always full of surprises and as for what it was doing to your nine-tailed fox well I can only speculate as the fox isn't a part of you and is only sealed it must be trying to evict it but I can't say how though. So, what do you suggest we do? Naruto asked. Let it evict the fox after all you want to free her don't you? Yen Sid asked. Well yeah I do. Naruto replied. So do it however you should know I don't know how she will come out it could be one of two ways one of which is her normal self, and the other is as a summons. Cool so what's a summons? Naruto said. A summons is a special jewel that hold a spirit in like your toads but each jewel houses one spirit, Yen Sid answered. Thank for answering me Yen Sid. Naruto said then thanks to the vixen, so did you hear that? I did kid. Kurama said. So, what do you want to do? Naruto thought. Kurama thinks about it then says, I will let it evict me kid after all if you don't want to use my power might as well use my power myself and I want freedom and if I have to become a jewel to get it then so be it, but you have to use me for the big guys okay. You got it Kurama. Naruto thought then turns his attention back to Yen Sid then said, mind taking me to a big room to I can let the life stream to it job. Yen Sid said, of course, then he leads the way to the room that he set for Naruto to get acquainted in order to us his keyblade again and once there he says, here you go, and this room will be the one you will use for you training tomorrow. Nice thanks. Naruto said then he heads into the center and meditate then after 5 minutes an orange formed around Naruto then it began to form an orb on his lap. After a few minutes the orange stuff has now completely left Naruto and was now the orb that was on Naruto's lap then it took shape of an average size fox that had 9 tails then they both collapse on the floor Yen Sid just smiled then said, well what can I expect from someone that is constantly training himself into the ground, then he called for a few broom and to take Naruto back to his room. The next day when Naruto woke up, he saw there was a red crystal rob about the size of a tennis ball. So he picks it up and inspect it then sees the vixen sleeping next to him, so he wakes her up then says, hey Kurama what do you think this summon materia is? The fox looks at the red orb then she feels a pull then says, well this might sound crazy but if there in one thing I have learned being sealed in you is that crazy is the norm. Not my fault. Naruto huffed. Kurama laughed then said, hey that was not a compliment after all who want too normal as it is boring. You might have a point there Kurama. Naruto said then he asked, so what is your theory then? This summoning materia could be my lost powers, Kurama said. Huh what do you mean? Naruto asked. Well since the life stream evaded me, I lost most of my power, Kurama said. Naruto hold the orb up and said, and you think that the life stream put that power in this summoning materia? Well like I said it's only a theory but yes, I do, Kurama replied. Naruto just shrugged and said, well it's not like we have a more logical idea on where your powers have gone. Then he gets up and while he was getting ready for the day plan his day which of cause will be training to use the keyblade again then he said, well I taijutsu is shit so maybe I could Tifa and see if she is willingly to help me hone my taijutsu as I can't always reply on the keyblade. That might be a good idea. Kurama said then with teasing tone said, or is it just an excuse to see the young again and try her food? Naruto nodded then said, once I am done changing, I am going to go to the 7th heaven and ask her to help me with my taijutsu. Then he realized what the fox said then said, it's not like that and you know it. And how would I truly know that as I was sealed in, so I only had access to your outer thought but never your inner ones, Kurama said then added, plus you have to admit she is quite a looker. Well, you are right there, she is quite pretty, Naruto said absent-mindedly. Then they both left. When Naruto and Kurama got to the tavern, they saw Tifa checking the stock and he says, "Hey Tifa, can I get something to eat please?" Tifa looks around and sees Naruto and asks as she hands Naruto a menu, "Sure, what can I get you?" Then she sees Kurama and asks as she strokes her, "And who is this little cutie?" Naruto looks up from the menu and said, "Well Tifa, this is Kurama also, I will whatever you think I would like." "Coming right," Tifa said, then goes into the back. Then after 5 minutes came back out with Naruto's food and once she put it on the table she asked, "So what other reason did you come here, as I know that you could have breakfast wherever you are staying?" Naruto took a bite out of his breakfast and said, "You are right about that Tifa, I came here for 2 reasons. The less important one was to see how good your cooking was, which is fantastic by the way." Tifa gained a small blush and said, "Thank you Naruto, so what is your main reason for coming here?" "Well, you need your help with something," Naruto said. Tifa eyed the boy and asked, "And what would this something be?" "I need you to help me with my taijutsu," Naruto said as he took another bite. Tifa looks at Naruto and asks, "What is taijutsu? I feel like I have heard it before." "Taijutsu is hand-to-hand combat back in my world," Naruto replied, continuing eating his meal. "Now I remember where I heard it before. My friend Yuffie uses that term as well," Tifa said as her eyes went wide. Then she asked, "So what make you think I am a fighter?" Naruto looks up at Tifa and said, "Well, apart from your gloves are the actually knuckles, your physique, which is way too lean compared to someone who isn't a fighter. Even if you are retired, your muscles would have some slack." "My, you are an observant one, aren't you?" Tifa said. Naruto said with sad tone, which he tried to hide, "Well, that is one thing I had to learn if I wanted to survive." Tifa was shocked by what Naruto said and asked, "What do you mean by that Naruto?" Naruto looks at Tifa and said, "I will not tell you much, but I will tell you some of it, as if fear that you will be like most and abandon me." Tifa was happy in getting to know the blonde Kibira a bit more, even though Merlin had told her what he was like the night before, but at the same time sad as he did think she would stay with him. So to try and reassure him she said, "I understand Naruto, but you have believed me when I say this, I will always be your friend." Naruto looks at Tifa to see if she is lying but saw that she was being honest, and so he said, "I can see that you are being honest with me, but I have had people that I was my friends one day, the next they hated me." Knowing what he was get at, Tifa could only nod and said, "I understand Naruto, so mind telling me?" "Thank you for understanding Tifa," Naruto sigh with a grateful tone. Then he says, "On the day of my birth a beast known as the Nine-Tailed Kitsune attacked, and the leader at the time sacrificed himself to defeat it, but as it was also the day of my birth, all but a handful of people saw me as the beast in human skin and did all they could to get at me, from being thrown out of an orphanage at the age of 4 to overcharging me for spoiled stuff to sabotaging me when I was at school, as well as getting beaten on a daily basis." Tifa gasped at what she had heard, then did something that Naruto wasn't expecting, and that was giving him a hug and said, "And for you to use that jutsu that brought you here must have broken your heart, as you might not have been able to return." Naruto hugged her back while unknowingly let a few tears fall and said, "You have no idea, but I am happy that I can go back there when I want to." Then he remembered that she hadn't gave him an answer yes and asked, "So will you do it?" Tifa looks at the blonde confused, then asked, "Do what?" "Help me with my taijutsu," Naruto replied. "Oh right, you did ask me that," Tifa said as she remembered what Naruto wanted. Then she said, "Of course I will help you out, so you better hurry up and eat up." Then she thought, "I wonder if I can get the group to look after the shop so I can go with him tomorrow and get to know him a bit better." Naruto nodded and said, "Right, and thanks for doing this." Then he finishes his breakfast. "Think nothing of it, after all I want to get to know you a bit better," Tifa said. Then she begins to close up the shop with a note saying where she will be. Then the duo left to head back to Yen Sid's tower to train. Once at the, Tifa turned to Naruto and asked, "So Naruto, apart from you hand-to-hand combat, what else do you need to learn?" Before Naruto could answer, Yen Sid showed up and said, Well, I wouldn't say that, Miss Lockhart, it's more like relearn it all, as he is the reincarnation of someone that was a Kibier, which thanks to me remembered it but has to relearn it. Then he turns to Naruto and says, I see, as asked young Tifa to help you with your hand to hand. Yes, I did, as I can't rely on the Keyblade not while I have other thing I can use like my chakra as well as magic if I find the materia, Naruto said as he showed them the red orb that probably contained the Nine Tails power. Yen Sid smiled at what Naruto said, then he said, I see that you are wise about using everything that you are capable of and not rely on a single thing, and as a reward I have thing for you, then hands Naruto a green orb. Naruto looks at the orb and says, sweet, a spell materia, but why give me one, Yen Sid? I gave you that materia because you need it, as I will be teaching you how to cast spells again, as I fear that what is in that summoning materia will destroy my home, Yen Sid said. Naruto starches behind his neck and says, you are probably right about that, but you and I both that I am going to have to see what is in the summoning materia sooner or later, as I don't want to summon what this thing it in a situation that not best for it. Yen Sid stroked his beard in a thinking manner, then said, you are right, as you will need to use it to see if Kurama's theory is correct. Right, so let's start training, Naruto said then. He did the hand sign and said, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Then created 250 clones, then he turned to face the clones and said, alright, I want you lot to go with Yen Sid and learn magic. Then the clones went off with the wizard, then he created another 250 clones, then said, alright, I want you lot to go with Tifa and learn taijutsu. Then when that batch of went off with Tifa and he yet again created another 250 clones, then said, alright, I want you lot to go and get a single Kenjutsu scroll and start learning from it. Then he said to himself, I better find out had my element is before I create the last batch. Then he went into the tower. When Naruto came back out, he was followed by 5 brooms, each with a number on, and one of them was carrying a bucket and another one was holding 5 cards all the while he was holding 2 pieces of paper, 1 piece in each hand. The looks at one of them, the says to himself, okay, then let's see that this note says about finding 1 chakra nature. Then he reads the note, then says, I think I have it for fire. The paper will catch on fire and turn into ash, and the stronger it the flames intensity, the stronger the nature is for wind. The paper will split in half, and yet again the stronger the nature, the more split it has. If I have lightning, the paper will wrinkle, and the tighter the wrinkle, the stronger the nature. For earth, the paper will turn to dirt and crumble away. The strength of this one depends on the earth's density. And lastly, for water, the paper will become damp, and the strength on this one depends on its sogginess. Then he looked at the other one and channels chakra into it, and to his surprise the chakra paper split into 4 bits. Then each of those pieces had a different element. Then Naruto did the hand sign and said, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Then created 250 clones. Then he said, alright, I want each of you to make 5 groups of 50. Then you go, and to make it fair you will be drawing form this broom, and he thumb point to a broom who is holding a bucket with 250 pieces of paper with the number 1 to 5 on them. Then you will go to the broom with that number on it, and once the last clone is done, the other brooms will go to the broom with the cards and pulls the card, and that card will be the element you will be learning. And once the clone finished the pull and learned what element they was learning, they all went to a secluded area to train. Later that day, when training was done, Naruto was having the clone dispel 50 at a time with a 5-minute gap. Then once they were all gone, and Tifa was gone, Yen Sid said, are you ready to see if the Vixen's theory is right or not? Well, like I said earlier, sooner or later I am going to have to use it at some point. Might as well find out what it is before I use it in a situation that not suited for it, Naruto said. Yen Sid nodded and said, very well, then please follow. Then the aged wizard led Naruto to an area that was far enough from the house and was big enough for Kurama in her true state, that as if her theory was right. Right, thank you for letting me do this, sensei, Naruto said. Naruto used the summons, and the results of it was a little surprising and at the same time not, as Kurama's theory was proven right as she was now in her true state. Then Naruto cancelled the summons to prevent a panic, just in case the town could see her or someone came to ask the wizard something. That he turned to the wizard and said, thank you for helping me relearn all this stuff. Yen Sid smiled and said, "It's quite alright Naruto, now you should head off to bed as your journey starts tomorrow and I am sure you want to let Tsunade know how you are doing." "You're right Knight Gigi," Naruto said, then heads into the tower to his room to write a letter to Tsunade so she can inform Hana, Anko, Kurenai and Yugao on how he is doing. Once Naruto was in the tower, Yen Sid then said, "I know you are there Tifa, so you better come out." Behind the retired Kibir, a shocked Tifa walks out from behind a tree and said, What was that thing?" "That creature was Kurama in her true form, and I will not tell you what she is or how she was became the fox that the net in your tavern is. That is Naruto's secret to tell, not mine. So what are you doing here?" Yen Sid replied, not looking at the young woman. Tifa nods her head in understanding with a smile and says, "You already know why I am here, but I will say it anyway. Would it be okay to go with Naruto and help him on his journey?" Yen Sid turns to face the young female brawler and says, "That is for you to decide, but I know the real reason you want to go. But you should know that in his world there is a law that help prevents a clan from being wiped out." Tifa gains a blush and asks, "And what is the law?" "If there is a sole known male of a clan, then he is within his rights on taking multiple lovers, and this law also extends to new Kekkei Genkai as well," Yen Sid answered. "And what is a Kekkei Genkai?" Tifa asked in a confused tone. "A Kekkei Genkai is also known as a bloodline limit, one that is passed down from parent to child," Yen Sid replied. "So basically, if he wants to, he can have a harem, right?" Tifa stated, but it was more for her than the wizard. "Pretty much, but for him I don't think it's a bad idea," Yen Sid said. "What do you mean by that?" Tifa asked. "Well, no, I will not tell you much about Naruto, as it is his right to tell you what he want, right?" Yen Sid said, and Tifa nodded. Then he said, "Good, then as you know that Naruto was beaten basically on a daily basis, right?" Yen Sid asked, which Tifa once again nodded to, so he continued, "Well, he was also shown no love and was given little to no attention to. He decided to pull pranks as he thought that bad attention was better than no attention," which got a gasp from Tifa. Tifa looks at the tower and thinks, "Just how much are you hiding from me, Naruto?" Stealing her decision about what to do the following day. Then she turns to and says, "Thank you for telling what you can, Yen Sid." Then she heads home to pack. The next morning Naruto was up and ready and having breakfast when Yen Sid walked in and said, "Ah Naruto, you are here, good, that saves me time looking for you, as I have yet to tell you here you need to go to meet you traveling partners." Naruto shook his head and said, "No you haven't, so where am I meeting them?" "At your favorite tavern, the Seventh Heaven," Yen Sid replied with a smile. "Well then, I better finish up here so I can meet the ones I will be traveling with well until we go our separate ways," Naruto said as he quickly finishes his breakfast and headed to the tavern. Once Naruto was at the Seventh Heaven Tavern, he saw an anthropomorphic dog with black fur and droopy ears and has 2 buck teeth and 3 short hairs coming out of the top of his head, and he was carrying a shield. An anthropomorphic duck with white plumage, a yellow-orange bill, legs of the same color, light blue eyes, and a short tuft of feathers on his head, visible under his hat. His outfit is a modified version of a sailor's suit and the dog that woke him up when he got to this world 2 days ago. Naruto walks up to the trio and says, "I take it you 3 are waiting for me." Both anthropomorphic animals look at Naruto and the dog says, "Who are you?" "Name's Naruto Uzumaki and I am the wielder of the key," Naruto replied. "Well, you must be the one then, and I am Goofy," Goofy said. "Nice try, but you don't look like much," the duck said. Naruto gets up into the duck's face and says, "Well, it doesn't matter what you say, I am a Kibir and I will go out and save all worlds that I can save, and I will do it with you without you." Donald the First don't think it's a good idea to mess with, after all we don't know what world he was born in, Goofy said, gaining the duck attention. "I guess you are right about that," Donald said. Then he turns to Naruto and say, "I am the head mage of His Royal Highness King Mickey and Queen Minnie." "That's nice, but just don't expect me to treat you any different than other people," Naruto said as he will step in to defend those that needs help. Before anyone could say or move to the exit, Tifa appeared with a duffel bag and said, "Good, I am not too late." "Too late for what?" Naruto asked. To coming with you, why else would I be here with a bag? Tifa replied. Good point. Naruto simply said. Oh no, we ain't not taking you with us, Donald said. And why not, Duck? Naruto said. Because we have an important mission to do, and we will not take any more than we need, Donald said. Naruto was getting pissed as he was beginning to tell what kind of person or animal Donald was, so he asked, and what is your mission? To find the king, the mage replied. Naruto said, I see, so you would leave worlds alone if you think the king wouldn't be there. Goofy might be an idiot, but he could tell what type of person Naruto was, so before his partner could say anything he said, of course not, we will go to every world that we see, as I can tell what kind of person you are, Naruto, and I am not very bright, and we would gladly welcome you, miss. Knowing that he couldn't stop her now, Donald said begrudgingly, welcome aboard, now can we head to the gummy ship and leave for the next world? Then the group of 4 headed to the world's exit. Forgot to mention this, the clones from the jutsu will be able to use the Keyblade, but they aren't as effective as the original, they can only destroy the heartless. While Naruto, Tifa, Goofy and Donald was flying though the space with their ship, Naruto said, so Goofy, what do you and Captain Sirius over there do, and what is King Mickey like? Hey! Donald shouted, not happy about being called Captain Sirius. Well, Naruto, I am head of the Royal Guard, while Donald is the Royal Mage, and King Mickey is a great and noble person, and before he met the Queen Minnie, Donald and I was a musketeer, and we used to have habit of skipping work to do something that will most likely going to get us in trouble. Then we discovered our calling, I being a defender, Donald a mage, and Mickey being a keybearer like yourself. Then after he married Minnie, he became a kind and noble king that will defend the ones that can't defend themselves, Goofy replied. Naruto smiles and says, sound like a kind of guy and king I am going to respect greatly. That's good to hear. So what about you? Before finding out that you were a keybearer, Goofy said. I was a shinobi from a world where ninjas are a bit more common, and we have a power called chakra, Naruto said. And because of that, me and my other 8 siblings was created, Kurama said. How was you created? Tifa asked. I think I will tell you some other time, as no one back in our world know how we was created. Many think we are just natural manifestation of chakra that come from nature, Kurama said. Wait, you're not? Well, you do learn something every day, Naruto said. I rest my case, Kurama said. I have a friend that is a ninja, so I know that many of them can have short lives. So how are your parents about your career choice? Tifa asked. Well, I think they might be proud of me. Well, I hope they are, Naruto replied. Donald for the first time looks at Naruto and asked, what do you mean you hope, and you think? I will not tell you much, but due to some unfortunate circumstances something happened on the day of my birth. My father died that day, and my mother didn't get the chance to raise me, as someone told her that I was dead after being a part of something so that he could turn me into a weapon, Naruto said. So how did you find out that you was a keybearer and maybe was an incarnation of one too? Goofy asked. Naruto was shocked by what the dog said and said, I will answer that, but you have to answer me this. How did you know that I was a reincarnation of a keybearer? As the only ones here that knows that are Tifa and Kurama. Kurama because she was with me when I found out, and Tifa because well she helped me train, so she needed to know. Oh, that is simple. I remember someone that used the exact same Keyblade 10 years ago, but I don't know how it is possible, as you look like you are 15-16, Goofy said. Well, that one is easy to tell you, however I don't know how it happened, so don't ask, okay? Naruto said, and when both Goofy and Donald nodded, the new keybearer continued. Well, before I talk about my world, are you two aware of the world that no one could go to? Once again both anthro animals nodded. The blonde said, well, that is my world, and time was 1.5 times faster. Oh, I get, so one day out here would be 1.5 days on your world, and as the elemental land was out it was impossible to access. So how did you escape, as it is impossible to access or leave? Donald said, asked. Well, I used a jutsu that forced me from my world, and in doing so it's broke whatever was making time go faster. Son, now time has returned to normal, Naruto said. Good on ya, Naruto, Goofy said. Now as to how I found out, well, I was on a 3-year training trip and my teacher was the guy that told my mother that I was dead, but at the start I didn't know that, and for over a year all I did was make something bigger and try to use something that I didn't want to, as I prefer to use my own power, and for a little while I have been having a dream that seemed weird, and when I told Kurama about it, she told me that I might have a higher calling than being a shinobi and that it was a kibure, but she didn't know how to awaken, so she taught me a jutsu that would let me my world, so I waited for my teacher, had an argument, then when he fell asleep ready his diary that fell on the floor, and in it was plans for me. One was to think my mother was dead, another was to spread a rumor about me, then during the training trip place seals on me to alter my memory and make me loyal, Naruto said. Oh, my, so what did you do? Tifa asked. Then I left to sort some things out, then I did the jutsu and it took me to traverse town, but I came out of the portal with a bit of force and I hit a wall here, enough to knock me out. I have no idea how long I was out, but I came to with Pluto liking my face. Then he ran on. Then I went to look to see if anyone could help me unlock my keyblade, and that is how I met Tifa, and she told me about Merlin. Then he showed me Yen Sid, who told me that I was Ventus reborn, and he also said that he can unlock my abilities, but I would have to work to master them again, which I don't mind doing, which I spent most of yesterday doing, Naruto said. So, you are the type that like to pod in the effort to achieve what you want, Goofy said. Got that right, as I had hardly anyone care for me, so I had to learn fast and be good enough to stand on my own, but you know that saying, there is always someone better than you, so I had to constantly improve myself, Naruto said. Is that why you don't like to us powers that aren't yours? Tifa asked. Naruto nodded and said, yes. It is. Maybe if I had that one true friend that stood by me no matter what, then maybe I would be more okay using Kurama's power. I have to ask, what were these dreams you mentioned about? Donald asked. I was on these giant stained glass platforms with this voice was telling me what to do about certain situations, and each platform was a different situation, like how to use the blade to open doors, stuff like that, Naruto said. And did the platforms have a pattern? Tifa asks. Well, the stained glass had a picture of women that seemed familiar to me somehow, but I didn't know how, and since Yen Sid unlocked my memories, I do that was from my past life, Naruto said. Then he saw something and asked, hey, was that? And point to something. It was a world that had two type of pink in a pattern, and on the top of it had building in the shape of chess pieces, while on the other side had a hut. Then asked, is that another world? Looks like it, Donald said, then looked at something, then said, and according to WDB. Huh, what does WDB mean, Naruto? WDB means World Database, and it says this world is called Wonderland. Now let's get going, Donald said. Then they landed and disembarked. Then they landed in the world. They was met with a white rabbit, but he seemed to be in a rush, as he was saying while looking at a pocket watch. Oh dear, oh my fur and whiskers, I'm late, I am so late, I am here when I am meant to be there. I hope the queen doesn't have my head. Then run down a corridor. Kairi, who was watching, thought Naruto's eyes, asked, was that bunny wearing a vest? It was, and it also had a pocket watch that was almost as big as he was. Wander here, he puts it, Naruto thought. It was cute. You think it will let me pet him? Kairi asks. Naruto chuckles and said, you know, I think you would have gotten well with someone I once knew. You mean Haku, right? Kairi asked. How did you? Naruto begins to ask. I looked through your memories which Kurama showed me how to before the live stream. Hope you don't mind, Kairi said. I don't mind, as I might not like or take pride, but I am not ashamed of it, as it forged me into what I am today, Naruto thought. Then he looks at the group and asks, so what do you that was about? Kurama was the first to answer, be saying, well, I don't know about you, but I want to chase the bunny as it looks delicious. Then she looks at the others, then asks, what? Naruto chuckles, the said, well, rabbits are on a fox's menu, so what do we do? Then he and Kurama snuck away to see what was going on. Well, I want to see what the rabbit was in a rush for, Tifa said as she replied that Naruto was gone, went down the corridor after him. We'll follow him, but we cannot interfere. Is that understood? Donald said with his eyes closed and not realizing that Naruto and Tifa were gone. Donald waited for a reply, then Goofy said, Donald, Naruto and Tifa have gone ahead. What? Donald said, then goes on to say, let's go after them, they don't know that the other worlds have to be kept secret, then rushes down the corridor. With Naruto, he just entered a room and looked around for the rabbit, then gained a confused look and said, hey, where did he go? Kurama, who was also looking around, then saw something scurrying across then floor, then goes through a door with a sleeping doorknob, then said, how did that rabbit get so small? The doorknob then said, he isn't small, you're just big now, be quiet as you woke me up and I need more sleep. Oh, sorry about that, Naruto said. Tifa, who entered the room and said, Naruto, what is going on here? Naruto looked to the doorknob and said, one moment please. Sure, I might be an old doorknob, but I can tell you will have to explain things to your girlfriend, the doorknob said, getting Tifa to blush. Thank you, Naruto said to the doorknob, then turned to Tifa, then said, well, as you know, I followed the rabbit. Well, when I get to this room, Kurama saw him but he had shrunk. Then when asked how he got small, this doorknob said we was too big and moan about being woken up. I apologized, then you showed up. Okay, Tifa said, then turned to the doorknob and said, I am sorry about this. The doorknob yawned, then said, that all right, I can tell your boyfriend didn't mean to wake me. Before you go back to sleep, can you tell us how do we shrink? Naruto asked. Well, because you have been so polite, there are 2 potions on the table. To shrink, use the one with the blue label, and to grow, use the orange, the doorknob replied. Naruto looks at the table, then back to the doorknob, then said, thank you, then turned to the table, then said as he took the potion, well, let's see if this works. Then he drinks it, then he shrinks, and as he was shrinking, he gets on the table. When Tifa saw that Naruto had stopped shrinking, she went over to the table and sat down, then said, Naruto, how do you feel? Which was too loud for Naruto as he was holding hand over his ears. Then she whispered, oh, I am sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Knowing that his voice will be squeaky, he thought, thank God I got Iruka-sensei to teach me his big head jutsu. When he asked what L wanted as his way of apologizing, then his head went big, then he said, it's okay Tifa, I know you didn't mean to do it. Thanks. So what are you doing now? Tifa asked. Well, I am going to see if there is a way to get past the doorknob without waking him, Naruto said. Tifa was surprised that Naruto will take others into consideration while making a decision. Then she said, so what do you want me to do in the meantime? I need you to be normal size as we have no idea how this room works, Naruto said just as Donald and Goof entered the room. Then Donald then said, what's going on here and where is the Kyuubi? Well, Donald, Naruto took a potion that made him small, and he is on the table also, he has a name, Tifa said to the duck, then turned back to Naruto and asked, so basically, you just want me to sit here and look pretty? Well, yeah, although the looking pretty won't be much trouble, Naruto said. Tifa smiled at what Naruto said, then she asks, are you sure you can handle it by yourself? Naruto nodded, then said, I am sure, plus I can make copies of myself. Then his head went normal size. The thought, hey Kairi, you went through my memories, right? I did. Why do you ask? Kairi replied. So hypothetically, if I let you have a clone like we talked about when we first met, you can use what I know, Naruto said. You're right, why did we think of this when we were with Yen Sid? Kairi said. Well, until we got to this world, I did know you went down my memories, Naruto thought back. Then he said, well, there is one way to find out, gaining a confused look Tifa, Donald and Goofy. Kairi gained a confused look about what Naruto just said and she asks, what do you mean by that, Naruto? This was all Naruto thought as he did a hand seal, then said, Shadow Clone Jutsu, then he created 6 clones, then 5 of them went to look around the room. The moment the clones jumped off the table and landed on the floor, they saw black spheres and shadows appear. Then they said as they summoned there, so that's how they appear, cool, let's do this. The clone that stayed looked around, then back at Naruto, then said, Naruto, what just happened? In minute I was in your mindscape, then I am out here. Then she moved the body and said, feels weird. Simple Kairi, I used the clone technique and placed you inside it, now try the henge, Naruto said. The Naruto clone nodded, then did a hand sign that said, Henge, then a cloud of smoke covered it, and when it the clone was now Kairi then she said, cool but still feels weird though. Naruto think for a moment that says, maybe it's because it's not your proper body. Kairi begins to think about what Naruto said. She said, you're properly right, as these sorts of clones aren't supposed to have a soul or whatever I am, but let's figure that out when we are done. Naruto nodded then said, yeah, so, I will look around and take care of the heartless. I want you to stay here and get used to having a temporary body and to see if the things that I know come easy or hard. Kairi nodded then said, okay, as we have no idea where my body is, so we don't know how long it will be before we find it, and there is no way I stay in your mindscape until then. Then Naruto went and joined his clones in taking out the heartless. When all the heartless was taken care of, Naruto and his clones began to look around the room. Then one of the clones saw here was a secret passageway behind the bed and dispersed in order to let the original know about it. Then he dispersed the other clones, then headed to table and used the big head jutsu. Said, I found a secret passageway but is behind the bed, so I am going to need one of you to move it. Tifa nods and says while not looking at Naruto so she doesn't hurt him again. On it. Then she stands up to goes over to move the bed, and when it was out the way she sees the passageway, but it can only be used if you take the shrinking potion. Then she turns to the table and says, found the passageway and it looks like you can use it if you take the potion that makes you small. Then let's get going, Kurama said. Well, if it's the only way then let's go, Goofy said as he was about to grab a bottle, then asked, which one is it? The blue one is the shrinking potion, Tifa said as she grabbed it and poured some for Kurama, then drunk it herself, followed by Goofy then Donald. Then they headed down the passageway. The Naruto's clones will be able to use the Keyblade, but they aren't as effective as the original. They can only destroy the heartless. When Naruto and group came out of the hallway, they came across something like a trial with a blonde girl wearing a baby blue dress as the accused, and a woman that was bit on the large size and was wearing a red and black dress, and she was also wearing a crown and had card people standing guard. Then Naruto saw the rabbit that was chasing run up some stairs and then said, the court is now in session. The girl looks at the bunny and asked, what, I'm on trial, but why? I haven't anything wrong. Not answering the girl, the rabbit continued, presiding the court Her Majesty the Queen of Hearts. The Queen of Heart looked at the girl that said, this girl is the one that done it, and of that I have no doubt, and for the reason because I say so, that's why. But that is so unfair, the girl said. And I don't care, so do you have anything to say in your defense? The Queen said. As a matter of fact, I do. I have done nothing wrong, and another thing, just because you are a queen that doesn't give you the right to be so mean, the girl replied. Naruto snickered a little before saying, I like her. Of course you would, she has moxie, Kurama said. You're right about her having moxie, and she is right. The queen, this court is a farce, Naruto said. Before anyone could say anything, the queen shouted, quiet, which caused the girl to flinch. Then the queen continues, how dare you defy me and say that I am wrong? You know what, I am beginning to get pissed at this farce. I am going to stop this, Naruto said. Before Naruto could take one step forward, Goofy said, but we can't. Oh, and why not, Goofy? Because we are outsiders, and we would be muddling, Goofy said. Meddling? Donald said. Yes, that is agents the rules, Goofy said. Now look here, you two, I agreed to help you find your king so I can help other worlds, so here is what I say, you can take your rules and shove it up your, Naruto said. Then he begins to walk into the opening. As Naruto was walking into opening, he heard the queen says, the court find the defendant guilty for assault and guilty for the attempted theft of my heart, causing Donald and Goofy to rethink their plans. And then the queen says, and the court sentence her to have her head removed, so of with her head. Then Tifa, Goofy and Donald quickly walked up Naruto. As the cards walked over to the weapon at the ready, the girl said, oh no, please, I have done anything. Then she closed her eyes and wait for the attack, but it never came. Instead she heard thumps like bodies being piled in one another, as well as groans. Upon opening her eyes and sees the card people stacked on one another and Naruto standing there, the girl asked, who are you? My name is Naruto, and I will protect you from this queen bitch, Naruto said loud enough for the Queen of Hearts to hear. What, how dare you call me that, and as well as interfering with my court, the Queen said. Naruto turned to face the Queen and said, in order of your questions I called you what you are, and that would be a bitch, and as for interrupting your so-called court, please, this isn't a trial, it's a farce of someone who let the power inflate their ego. So, what do before you want before you lose your, the Queen said. Well, I am already doing what I want, but I also know who the real culprit is, but I can see that you're the type of person that think they are right even if the proofs slap them in the face, Naruto said. The Queen growls at the constant insults, then says, fine, I will give you the benefit of the doubt to prove that she isn't the one I seek, but you have 1 hour, otherwise it's off with her head. That's fine this me, but you better keep your end of the bargain, Naruto says. Good, now guards lock her up, the Queen instructed, then the guards put her in a cage. Naruto nodded, then walks up to the caged girl, then he says, hey, how are you holding up? The girl then says, well, I am doing good under the circumstances, and I am sorry for getting you in this predicament. Naruto just waved it off and said, think nothing of it, I just can't sit right when someone is being judged for something they didn't do, so allow me reintroduce myself, my name is Naruto. Then he points to Tifa and says, this is my friend, her name is Tifa. Then he points the anthro animals and said, and these are some acquaintances I made recently, the dog is Goofy and the duck is Donald, so what's your name? Well, it's nice to meet you all, my name is Alice, Alice replied. Hi, Tifa said. Hey, Goofy greeted. Hello there, Donald said, then he turned to Naruto, and what do you mean acquaintances? Well, for one thing, I just jet you two, and I know that you are just using me so you can find your king, Naruto said to Donald, then he turns to Alice, then he says, well, Alice, it's nice to meet you as well, and don't worry, we will get you out, then head thought an archway that leads to a forest. Once in the forest, Tifa turns to Naruto and asked, so Naruto, do you know what we are looking for? Before Naruto could answer, Kurama beat him to it by saying, no he doesn't, but with the kid's luck we will find what it is what we are looking for and know it, or we will walk into someone that knows where to find the evidence. You have got to be kidding, the key is in the hands of an idiot, Donald said. Well, I doubt you will think that when you tell you that I have been sabotaged for as long as I have had a sensei, Naruto said. He is speaking the truth, duck, a voice said out of nowhere. Show yourself and tell us how you know that, Naruto said. Certainly. The voice came, then a pink and purple cat's head appeared out of nowhere, and it was also smiling, then it disappeared, then reappeared in a different, after repeating it a few more times it appeared in a stump with its body standing on its head, then Naruto said, call, so you are then one that knows me. Yes, I know who you are, Naruto, the boy with no dark side, the boy who is a reincarnated of a Kyuubi, the cat replied. So, who are you? Donald asked. Who am I indeed? But alas, poor Alice is about to lose her head for something that she didn't do, the cat replied. And I get the feeling you're not going to tell us who the culprit is even if we ask, Naruto said. I might, but then again, I might not. All that matters is the culprit likes to lurk in the dark, the cat said. Oh, what does that mean? Goofy asked. It sounds like a riddle, Goofy, Donald said. Oh, so what it mean? Goofy asked. Donald shrugged and said, you got me. What the cat means is the thing that we are after really is a heartless or someone with a power to control the heartless, Naruto said. That's right, the Cheshire cat knows all, but he sometimes doesn't like to share, Cheshire said before he faded, before saying, though here is some advice, the shadows are coming for the heart of its maiden, although at the moment it's too dark to see them. Naruto realized something, then he shouted, hey, show yourself again and tell me how you know my. Okay, what does that mean? Tifa asked. Well, I am not sure about the maiden part, but by the sounds of it the heartless are trying to find the heart of the world, Donald replied. I see, and by the sounds of it if we need to find the heartless that is in control, we need to find some lights, Naruto said. You might right, Naruto, but there is only one room in that we know of that has lights, and that is the room with the sleeping doorknob, Tifa said. Yeah, but there was one problem. While Naruto was dealing with the heartless and Kairi was getting used to using a Naruto clone, I looked around the room, there is no light switch, Kurama said. Maybe there is a way for us to walk on the ceiling, then that way we can find a way to turn the lights on, Goofy said. Goofy, do you have any idea on how stupid that sounds? Donald said. And who's to say that it's not possible? After all, I can do it and there might be a way for you to, Naruto said. What makes you so sure? Donald asked. I don't, but you told me on the way here each world has its own laws, and by that logic some of the worlds we visit might have something that defies what we know, Naruto said. Well, he does have a point. After all, back on my world before the darkness took it, if you wanted to use materia to its full potential too had to undergo a treatment that fused something known as the livestream into you, Tifa said. Ah phooey, Donald said as they were right. Alright, let's get looking to find a way to the roof of the bazaar room, Naruto said. Then they split up and looked around the forest. After 50 minutes of looking and slaying Heartless that showed, they found passageways to all over the world, and there was only one more passageway left which lead to a tea garden. After looking around they entered the little house, and to their shock they was teleported to the ceiling of the bazaar room. Then Donald said, well, I didn't think that would really happen. Before anyone could say anything, the Cheshire Cat appeared and said, well, hello there, I see you are looking for the shadows and they are hiding somewhere near, and if you want to find the shadow, why not try turning on the lights? Then he disappeared again. As the cat was disappearing, hey, don't you dare disappeared on me, you tell me how you know me, but he was too late. The cat had disappeared, causing Naruto to say, oh for sake, the next time we see him I am going to grab him and shake him till he tells me, and if not I will skin him alive. Tifa grabbed Naruto by the collar and said as she dragged him to find a way to turn the lights on, come on Naruto, we don't have much time left, focus on saving Alice, then you can plan to try and kill the cat. She is right kid, we have to focus on Alice, as I fear she is more important than you or I will ever know. I doubt she even knows, plus I don't think you will be able to catch the cat, let alone kill it, Kurama said. Naruto looks at his fox companion and asked, what are talking about Kurama? Before Kurama could reply the Heartless appeared. Then Naruto said with a grin as he summoned the Keyblade, oh goody, now I have something to vent on, thank to that goddamn cat. After making quick work of the Heartless, Naruto jumped onto the light and taped the glass blade, causing it to light up, and upon looking up, they saw a puff of smoke, but nothing happened. Then Goofy asked, so what now? Maybe it's still to dime, so let's turn the other light then see what happens, Tifa said. Good idea, Naruto said as he jumped to the other light, then did the same thing. Once both lights were lit, the Cheshire Cat reappeared and said, well, all the lights have been lit and the shadows will appear soon, and they will arise at another part of the room. Well, at least give us a hint at where they will appear, Naruto asked. Well, they might go for the sleepy doorknob, the cat said, then he disappeared. Naruto sighed and said, well, time to go right side. Then they all left to go the sleepy doorknob. Upon reaching the hall, Naruto felt a pull, so he looks around, completely missing the Cheshire Cat appearing and saying, if you want a better you might want to get to higher ground. Seeing the logic to it, Tifa turned to Naruto said, he is right, as it is better chance to finding the Heartless. Naruto looks at Tifa and said, huh, what was that Tifa? The Cheshire Cat said that we have a better chance to find the Heartless if we are on higher ground, Tifa replied. The Cathy appeared in the middle of the group and said, well, it's too late for that, as they are here or prepared for the worst, if not that too bad. Then he points up and a Heartless drops down. The Heartless is a bizarre Heartless with its spindly legs resembling scissor jacks, its arms appear to be made of paper, and a head that is made of several segments balanced on top of each other. Each of these segments sports its own face. You have got to be kidding, we don't have time for this, Naruto said as he pulled out the summon materia. Then he turned to the fox and said, you ready, Kurama? You know it, kid, Kurama replied. Kurama, time to shine, Naruto said as he channeled some magic into the orb, and then he held it up. Then above him there was a sun-like sphere, then it exploded, making 9 fire-like streams. Then they headed to the little vixen, which she absorbs. When the last one was absorbed, she began to grow. When Kurama reached full size, she looked at the Heartless, she growled and said, well, Heartless, it's time for you to burn in the 7 rings of hell. then she tackled the Heartless, then she started to charge a tailed beast bomb. Naruto sees the attack and knew what the attack was as she had told him about it. Then he said, "Shit Donald, do you know any barrier spells?" "I do, why?" Donald replied, asked. "Then cast it now, the attack that Kurama is about to launch will do some damage," Naruto replied. Donald nodded, raised his wand and said, "Protect," then protective green shield covered the group. The moment the spell covered the group, the massive fox unleashed the jutsu, causing a huge shockwave that destroyed the room. When the dust settled, the spell was undone and Naruto went over to Kurama and the Heartless and said, "Kurama, think you can drag it to the queen?" "You know I can, though I am wondering why the tailed beast bomb didn't completely destroy the Heartless," Kurama said. Naruto think for a moment before saying, "Well, if I remember right from when I was Ventus, a Heartless or an unversed can only be destroyed by a Keyblade." Kurama thinks about it, then says, "Well, that makes sense." When the materia was secured, Naruto turned to his companions and said, "Well, I think that covers the evidence we need to prove Alice's innocence." Then he felt the pull from before, begins to look around and spots someone wearing a full body armor that was black in color and it also had the Heartless symbol on it, but he didn't stick around as summoned a portal and walked into it. Then Naruto thought, that was a Keyblade Amur and that looked like my Amur when I was Ventus, but it wasn't, so that means that was my missing darkness. Then he turned to his group then asked, "Are you all okay?" "I'm okay, Naruto," Tifa answered. "So are we," Goofy replied. Donald goes up to Naruto and asked, what spell that the fox used and what sort of summons do you have?" "Well, Donald, that attack wasn't a spell, it was a jutsu that only 9 entities back on my home world can use, called a tailed beast bomb," Naruto replied. "And what are the entities called?" Goofy asked. "We are called the Biju or the tailed beast, and we can have this conversation later as our hour is almost up," Kurama answered. "She is right," Tifa said. Then the group headed to the courtyard with Kurama behind them dragging the Heartless. Once they were in the courtyard, Naruto said, "We are back, and we have the evidence you wanted." Then Kurama came over with the Heartless and dropped it in front of her. When the Queen of Hearts saw the Heartless, she shouted, "What is the world is that thing?" "Well, your royal bitch, this is the thing that failed to take your heart, seeing as you don't have one," Naruto said before he summoned his Keyblade and stabbed it into the Heartless chest, destroying it. "Well, seeing as I am queen, I am the law, so I say you are guilty of defying the queen, so of with their heads," the queen says. Then the card people goes to attack them. "Big mistake, you stupid bitch," Naruto said, then looks at Kurama and says, "Kurama." Knowing what Naruto was going to ask, the 9-tailed fox said, "On it, kid." Then with one paw she takes out the cards, then she pulls down the cage down. Tifa heads over, pulls the cloth and says, Naruto, she isn't here." "Damn, he must have grabbed her while we were looking for the Heartless," Naruto said. "What are you on about? Who must have taken her?" Goofy said. "There isn't time," Naruto said as he headed back to the bazaar room just in time to see his dark side looking at the door with the sleepy doorknob. Vanitas looks to where is Naruto, but he didn't say anything and just summoned a portal again and walks through it. When the portal was gone, Naruto goes up to the door and see the doorknob taking a big yawn and a keyhole appears. Knowing what to do, Naruto summons his Keyblade, then points to it and a beam goes into it. Then there was a click, and something came out of it. When the group caught up, Tifa asked, "Son, what happened?" Naruto told them what happened, then handed the thing to Donald, who said, "It a gummy piece, but not one I have seen before. No, come on, it's time to leave." Then heads to the table that somehow repaired itself and has both potions on it. Naruto nodded and said, "Right behind you." As the group was walking down the hallway, when they first saw the rabbit, Tifa saw something that wasn't there when they first arrived, and it was a silver door, and asked, "What is that door doing here?" As it wasn't here, we arrived. Donald looks at the door and says, "You're right, and I don't know," then goes to opens it, but it wouldn't open. "Maybe Yen Sid sensei will know. We can ask him the next time we are on Traverse Town," Naruto said. "Year, he might, as he is very knowledgeable. Now it off to the next world," Tifa said. Then the group left the world.